Okay, good evening, everyone, to these weekly Pleiadian gatherings. Um, Today's date is the 12th of October, 2024, and the time precisely is 7:51 p.m. here in Ireland. We are just about to have a discussion about, and actually, we were just talking about the weather. Um, so let's begin. So Sheila, you were asking Dennis about some of the
Yeah,
weather.
the question was asked, are these weather events, is there some human intervention or some human cause on these? And there's plenty of evidence that there is. Um, so it is common knowledge that there is a lot of science in the area of working with weather, of seeding clouds, even of with chemtrails. And there's many patents that exist for these technologies and systems and devices. And it was only earlier this year there was major flooding in the Middle East, um, and in one of the Saudi kingdoms. And there was an acknowledgement that they were seeding clouds there, and then the result was much heavier maybe than they wanted. And one of the ways they are doing that is using a system called HARP. And people know there's a system called HARP up in the Arctic or up in the but there isn't just one HARP site. So these are ways of putting microwaves into the higher atmosphere and heating it, and and that has very significant effects on uh, that heat that's put into the atmosphere in creation of uh, movement of wind currents. Um, And there seems to be evidence that I've seen in Telegram of records of uh, energy signatures or heat signatures uh, that correspond with recorded scientific or military flight paths. Um, and so, why is it done? Well, I think most people who are doing these operations, they are doing it because it is their employment, and they have their families, and they have their wives, and they have their children, and they're looking after them, and they have an understanding that this is science and it's for the best outcome of humankind. But higher up in the chain of of command or planning, um, I believe there are people with agendas that aren't for the good of humanity. So there are people on this planet who wield a lot of power, control a lot of resources and wealth, and um, and their motivations aren't very rational or sane or humane. So it's hard for us to understand them, and why they would have such a different value system is hard to understand. Um, you know, uh, whatever philosophy they have or religion they have, seems to justify those kind of actions. Like I have a view in this world that uh, most people are very unaware of the depth of reality. So people are operating a small band of reality, of what's acceptable, of what's understandable, of what's reasonable, of what's presented in the media. And there is so much more that happens in our world and our reality that isn't easily perceived and is not being presented to us. Indeed, it is hidden. And this operates on the good and the bad. So the truth of it is, most people are unaware of so much that is positive and good. Most people live their lives without being aware of the sacredness of life, of the holiness of life. Most people live their lives missing most of the beauty. And then there is another spectrum, which is on the dark. And the same way that people miss the sacredness and the holiness and the beauty, most people in this planet, in their matrix, in their consciousness, as it is at the moment, miss the darkness that exists. The, uh, we're in this free world planet that we're in, where this has been taken to extremes, and this produces the, you know, uh, so like what happens in this world, be it trafficking of children, be it
Now,
starvation,
can
be
I
it
just ask,
wars.
can I
No,
just,
let me finish this.
okay,
All of these things, none of them are accidental. This is not un, misfortune. It's not bad luck. It's not some kind of coincidence. These things are ordered, they're created, they're planned. And so, with our evolution and our development, people will be stepping into their sovereignty and disagreeing with these kind of um, inequalities and injustices and evils that are going on. But first of all, people have to become aware of them, and that is something that is happening at the moment. It seems like things have got so much worse, and things have not got worse at all. But there is now just a beginning of a peak, an ability to see through media, through our consciousness, that there is some very, very dark and shady things going on, be it Epstein Island, be it P. Diddy, be it what's happening with our foods or the pharmaceutical industry. People are beginning to wake up and go, there's a whole lot going on here, and it's nasty. And there's that's long-winded, but it comes back to the weather. This would seem that there are some people who are carrying out agendas. And who are these some people? They're the people who run this world. And that's not the majority. It's a tiny, tiny minority. And I expect that they will be overthrown. That
when do you
darker
think that will,
power has existed on this planet, not for tens of years, not for hundreds of years, for thousands of years. And I think we are heading into a new yuga, a golden age, a time of ascension. So there's going to be more awareness. And with that awareness, people are going to come to see these things. And some of that will be a bit chaotic, and people will be very angry. People will be very upset. They will want to take heads off shoulders, put holes into bodies, all sorts of dramatic things like that. And some of it will happen. Um, so that's just a process. But I think this is uh, a, a moment of betterment and of uh, more compassion and more understanding of higher reason. I think this has already begun, and I think this is going to manifest itself very clearly in the space of it could be as soon as 2 years, you know,
But wouldn't
and
you
that
say it's already started?
it has, but m most people aren't aware of it starting. So it will be clearly manifest to most on the population. Uh, I think in the space of so many months, 24 months, 36 months, I think in that short space of time. And this is short because this situation has existed only for thousands of years. And I think people are going to see, oh my God, look how bad this was, look how bad this was, look what these people were doing. And newer systems are going to be started, and uh, a lot of these people are going to be stopped. I think a lot of them have been stopped already, but again, it's not in the media. It's not something people uh, are as yet even ready to accept, to perceive. But I think we're getting there.
So I do have is I do have a couple of questions, but is there before I do that, Dennis, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Nope.
Okay. So you were talking just there and you were saying about the darkness and how people are missing that. Why would people be missing the dark?
The reason for that is because we are in a controlled environment in planet Earth. It's a controlled system, it's a matrix where people's perceptions and consciousness has been inhibited. So it troubles me more, not that they're missing the dark, it troubles me more that they're missing the light.
Okay.
But people are missing both. So people are operating in a very small spectrum of perception and awareness.
Because I can understand missing the light, but I can't understand why someone would be missing the dark.
Well, it's not complicated because to it is too uncomfortable, and it is too ugly and too unbelievable for most people to accept. And if they start to accept it, then the result of it can be greatly threatening, not just to the functioning of society, but also to the individual and their mental health and sanity.
And
Because here are systems they've partook in, and they haven't observed some of the deep wrongnesses that are there. And so people can be filled with emotions, be it guilt, shame, and regret that they didn't act on certain things or weren't aware of them, or indeed anger, rage, revenge, looking for violence on people who have done these things. And of course, that cycle only uh, restarts the wheel of harm. So uh, it is very important. The what's most important here is people's spiritual development. What's most important isn't the facts, not the facts, because the facts won't heal people. People need to grow in their own compassion and their ability to forgive, and then they'll be able to receive the facts or observe the facts or handle them. So this is a process that for something that has persisted for thousands of years, the idea, and some people have this idea, oh, there's going to be an EBS and everyone's going to be sit down, watch an 8-hour program or a 12-hour program, and now they'll have the truth, and then everyone will be happy. Are you fucking serious? No. You'll have fucking civil war. You'll have chaos. You will have vast suicides. You'll have despair. So there's a process.
That was beautifully said.
All right.
So I have another question for you. One of the things I've seen in my mind's eye is, and believe will happen at some point in time. I was going to say history, but in time to come, is that we will cease to have governments, or that governments will perhaps not cease at the exact time across the whole world, but at some point, I do believe that governments will cease, and it may even start with America. So, because I feel very strongly, but I believe very strongly that governments are vastly negative, except for Trump, and I still stand by that. Because there's always an exception, and I think he is the exception. I'm sure there are others. Perhaps in Africa, certain government leaders have been taken out. So I do question why that would be. Are they not following the narrative? They're not following the schedule. They're not towing the line for the negative agenda. But I do foresee at some time in the future that the governments will cease to exist, and that we will live in a higher consciousness. And I feel that is very much a process. And it will come in phases. So there'll be a wave after wave after wave after wave after wave of humanity's consciousness raising. And I feel at some stage that the governments will just simply cease to be. Would you agree with that? And because you said something earlier, and one of my questions to you was, when do you think do you see that happening with the governments? Do you see the governments ceasing to exist? And when will that happen? That's my question.
No, I don't see it happening. It
Ever?
won't happen.
Ever?
Oh, let me tell you a story.
In generations to come?
Well, in some time in the future, we won't need bodies and we won't need food. And as light beings, we'll just be able to survive and create with prana and chi. Well, that's a long way away, and I'm not even in a hurry to get there, because, let's not take away the fun out of the human project and living on planet Earth, and the joys and potentials and pleasures that are in that. So we don't have to escape it too soon. I'm not looking to escape it. So, when I give up this body, I'm going to come back here. This is the best place to be, I think. But so government is going to change, and it's going to change greatly. But we need government. We don't need to be, there can be much more sovereignty. So we don't need government which the people are serving. We'll have government which serves the people. but there'll be government. It's like saying there won't be food. So there'll be government, there'll be schools, there'll be food, there'll be banks, there'll be shops. We need all those things. We can't get rid of banks, but we need to change the system that's there. The banking system we have is very flawed, very corrupt, very corrupt. It's just producing debt in a world where we live, where there is abundance. And here's a system that creates debt when it creates and prints money because it prints it out of tin air. And now, you have to pay this money back, which never existed, this pretend money, and you have to pay interest on it. And so here we are. It's an interesting game. Every country is involved in this game of the poker game of economics, all 230 of them or whatever it is, and every country is in debt. Well, if that happened at a poker table, every person sat around it, you know, you have 20 people sitting at a poker table, and at the end of the night, all 20 people have lost. There'd be guns or knives being pulled because someone is fucking robbing them, and they know it. And we are being robbed. So it has to change. It's not, these things aren't going to go away. We don't want them to go away. But they need to be changed. They need to be transmuted, improved, made just. And I believe that will happen.
Thank you, Dennis. I think that was beautifully said. And I think it's also a very good example of, I think it's a very good example of being united, and also having that it's okay to have a difference of opinion. I have heard rumors of Trump being the last president. What is your thoughts on that? And am I accurate in saying that? That I've heard rumors I believe it's Trump being the last president.
That is clearly, there is more untruth in it than truth, clearly. Because if it were true, it would be just in a particular context, in a particular understanding, a particular setting. It would mean that there is going to be a new contract of, what the United States is recognized as, and there'd be some kind of maybe rearrangement of its constitution or reinitiation of it. And so, and now he's not the president. Now he's king or prime minister or, first deputy. Just have a different title, and then the next people will have the same title. Again, we're going to have politics, and we're going to have government, and these things aren't going away. But it's quite likely there could be some very significant change in the United States, which would mean, like we have at the moment, here we are in the year 2000. So we changed our calendar going back to the Jesus time, so the same could happen politically. Arbitrarily, they go, okay, this is year one, and he's not a president. He's now called chieftain, you know. So there's no presidents. We got chieftain, but it's still a political system, you know. We don't have United States of America. We've got now the Republic of America, and there's no president. That, like, we're still going to have political systems. Even if we believe in 5D, it's still a human and physical realm. It's just with expanded consciousness.
What do you think of Trump?
Um, I think he is um, he's an interesting character. He's very flawed. Uh, I think I believe, and many don't, that he has a good moral fiber, or but the man has many flaws, clearly, and he probably is a bit egotistic and narcissistic, and fine, but I don't think he's a bad man. I think he's a good man, and I think somehow, I think he is going to be uh, destiny has just put him at this point of huge change of this planet, and the change is going to be beneficial and hugely positive and freeing, and I think history will kind of recognize. They'll go, oh, how when the world did that shit crazy world back then? When did it start to go right? And we uh, reconnected with the galactics, and justice came to planet Earth. When did that happen? Oh, it was way back there with that crazy Trump politician. And I think he will be looked favorably on that. So it's not just his personal, like. So I don't believe that he's carrying around the sword of Archangel Michael. He doesn't have to be. I just think that he is an avatar. He is a being, an entity who is just in a crux point of history. I think he is bringing about something positive. Um, but like what is coming about is being brought about by the collective consciousness of all. It is brought about by the consciousness of Gaia, and very largely it is brought about by the cosmos clock, you know, which is just coming around to a stage to be righted.
And so I have another question for you, darling. So, and then maybe we can go around the group and see what people think and if they have any questions for you. And I'd really like to hear from everyone else in the group as well. But so one of my last questions is, do you believe Trump has a direct connection to the Pleiadians?
Uh, it's possible he does, but then again, let's put it in context. Most of us have connections with the Pleiadians. So is he conscious of that connection? I think it's very likely he isn't, but he
He
doesn't need
is
to
or
be.
isn't?
I think it's very likely he is not.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but that is okay, because this is a human planet. This is our world, and there has been interference from other star peoples or galactics, and some of that has been harmful. But it is our responsibility to put this right. So, he doesn't have to be connected to Palladians. He just needs to be human, and to be basically good, and to be right, you know, at least 51% of the time on the important things. So I'm just hopeful that he is good enough and he will be right enough to help gather other positive humans and beings, and get this planet put back in a more rational, humane, caring, just footing. I think he has some good people with him. Uh, I think Robert Kennedy is a very good guy, and I think lots of people recognize that. I know people who feckin' hate Trump, But they have a lot of respect for Kennedy, and they're going, whoa, well, if Kennedy is in there and Kennedy says he's going to do this and Trump is going to let him do it, well, that's where I'm going to give support to, you know. So I think he will have good people with him, and I think Kennedy, I I I, I value Kennedy. I think he's a great guy.
Thank you, darling. So is there anything else you want to add to that before we go around the group?
Nope.
Okay. I would just like to mention here that I've received some downloads recently regarding weather in America, but also possibly some other places in the world, like Ireland, and most definitely Ireland and the UK. Some of it's already occurred. There might be more on the way, but I feel that wherever you are in the world, I feel that it's important to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So do prepare food and shortages. Do prepare food and water and some candles or torches or battery torches, torches with batteries or whatever you can, and maybe even a grab bag that you could grab if you need to. I did put some of those videos out because I've received some messages from the Pleiadians regarding bad weather to come, and I received it before Helena hit. And I do see it going across from the east coast of America to the west coast, very much in California area, not in a line at all, but I do see it sporadically happening in different places in America. So jumping around, and it could even jump back with different events, different situations, different weather, occurrences in different places. So it jumps around, it's sporadic. But I do see California being affected. And especially the coastal line going down right to the Gulf of California, which is Cancun area, I believe, to the tip, or going down to the tip. So yeah, and it's the messages are never to put fear in people, and we always think, oh, it's not going to happen to us until it does, and that's across the board with everything to do with negative life situations. We always think, oh, it's never going to happen to us until it does. And I'm sure the people high up in the mountains believed that as well, because some of the weather was very unusual. So having said that, please come and have a look at some of those videos on YouTube, and most especially Rumble, and do sign up to my Substack, because it is more important than ever that I'm able to reach more people as I continue my life purpose and journey, and continue to receive messages from the Pleiadians. You know, sometimes when I'm channeling, I don't realize how the importance of the messages they're saying. I really don't. I just, you know, when they've said to me since 2020 or 2019 that there will be changes on Earth and challenges. I not until recently did I really realize the magnitude of that. And yet there's still more to come. There's still more to come. We lost Dennis there, so I'm going to press pause. I'm going to stop the recording until he comes back in. Yeah.
Recording progress.
Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Sorry about that. Dennis lost his signal, but we are back and recording now. So let's go around the group and see if anyone wants to add anything or share or have any questions for Dennis or at all regarding what Dennis was speaking to.
Yes, I'm glad you've got him back because I'm sure he'll be glad to hear that I agreed with really everything he said.
Thank you, brother.
About councils. Maybe I keep hearing that we're going to have councils as part of government. So I'm wondering if that might be a possibility for change.
It certainly is a possibility. There will be changes, whatever format they are that are there, and like we certainly need to go to a situation where government is serving the people, and too clearly it is not, you know. So, and there are no saviors. Trump is not our savior. So we're all in this together to do our best, bring our life, live with hope, trust, and joy, connect with the source presence that is within us, and radiate that in the world and make a difference.
I agree.
And Judy, we were speaking earlier about the weather, and you were saying some things there, and you were mentioning some areas and some things that you'd heard and some things that might be intuitive as well. Would you like to recap on some of those things for the
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's Jenny Lee. She's a psychic and a seer, and she gets downloads from the galactics, and they're telling her that like Texas could be flooded. I don't know, Missouri, Louisiana, some of those areas might be underwater more permanently in certain areas. And then she was talking about California. She thinks the Golden Gate's gonna have something catastrophic happen, and possibly part of California that's made up of swamp where they just kept filling in and filling in, that the ocean might wash that away because it's not stable ground, she said. So I don't know if they're going to have a hurricane and a little tsunami or what, but she said I wouldn't definitely be living in on any cliffs or water areas. So, but that's all I know.
And I know that I've had my own downloads, but please and thank you for sending me her links, because I feel that she's a very good channel. So what was her name again for the audience?
Well, I know it's Dawn, but Jenny Lee is somebody else. She's a different psychic and seer, but Dawn, I can't remember her last name now. I don't know, but it's on, I think I sent it to you, so it would, her videos are pretty easy to find.
Okay. It seems that so many of us are getting similar messages. And so many of us are having difficult times, whether we're channeling or not, that there's It's definitely challenging times we're in. And one of the messages I had the other day, I'll just mention it quickly. Have I put it on my Rumble? No, I don't think I have. But I've put it on my Substack, and it's called DNA Codes. It was a message I received the other day. I think it might have even been as recent as yesterday. I don't think it was Thursday. So yeah, I think it was yesterday I received it, and I'd never heard them say that before, but what they were saying is these codes of our DNA that have been put into place as starseeds. They've said that to me before, but what they said yesterday, I think it was in the morning, they shared it with me, is that there's a code in our DNA that's been put into place that's directly affects the Earth. Directly affects the Earth. So it's almost like an activation code that's been put into our DNA as starseeds, where it activates the Earth. And they were showing me an image of laying down on the Earth and how that would allow the DNA code that's within each of us as starseeds, because they were saying that these codes are kind of that the starseeds carry these extra set of codes within our DNA that were placed there in order for us to be able to navigate these times that we're in now. So what they were saying is that when we lay with our belly on the Earth, or even walk on the Earth, but when we are still upon the Earth, so when we're not walking, there's even more of an effect, even more of an impact, and that this codes, when we lay on the Earth, that these codes or sit on the Earth. But they were showing that they were showing me that when we lay on the Earth, it's not a one-way relationship. When we lay on the Earth, it's a two-way relationship between us and the Earth, where the codes are naturally going into the Earth, and we are naturally receiving it's a two-way street, a two-way relationship. So we are giving to the Earth through these codes, kind of like the image I was seeing with that download was that it was like a little imprint of light, where these codes are going into the Earth and also helping us to, as individuals, helping us to navigate these times. But these codes, the energy goes into the Earth and it creates, it gives light to the Earth. And I feel that is very much related to, if we could do that in areas where there's troubles, whether it's a natural or orchestrated or manipulated, and whether it is to do with the land, but most especially to do with the land or the weather, or whether it is political or money or poverty areas, whatever area, that those codes do have an effect on Mother Earth. And it spreads light. So if we could go around the group, I'm going to stop talking, and if we could go around the group and just bear that in mind, and then maybe if I could get your thoughts on that after. We're kind of, I was jumping ahead there, sorry, but I felt that was important to let people know, and that video is out there on my Substack, which I have a free and a paid version of. So let's go back to Dennis and the people's thoughts of what Dennis is saying, and also if you have any questions for Dennis. Who and Judy, was there anything else you were talking about? Sorry, I kind of went into half of a channeling there. So Judy, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I can't think of anything. Not offhand. That was it.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think, I think people need to, well, I don't actually think people need to do anything. I think everything's perfect, but an aspect of me does believe that people need to wake up and realize that things are not okay. And things can happen to us, whatever area we're in, and we do need to prepare. We do need to be waking up and realizing that changes are now. Changes are coming, changes are now, and we need to be more flexible, to be looser with who we were yesterday, looser with our belief systems, because the world is not the way we were shown it to be or presented when we were children. That is not, and has never been, the world we live in. That was a false grand production that was placed in front of us through programming and various other ways to portray the way the world is, and it was never like that. It was never like that. Anyway, so I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put myself on mute. And Dennis, will you bring us back to what you were saying previously, and then we can go around the group again, if that's okay?
How do you propose I bring us back to what I said? Well, what does that mean?
Well, okay, I'll do it. So you were talking about the weather and politics and then I kind of went off and relaying some of the channeled information. So you were talking about the weather and politics, and then we were going to go around the room or the group.
Yeah, so I was saying, with weather events, there does seem to be some nefarious actions by some elite human group to carry out interference with weather, which is damaging to peoples in general. But of course, most of the people who are carrying out these projects aren't aware of that program. Most of them believe it's for the good. But it's the same we have in our education system. It's the same that we have in our food industries that are putting additives into food that make them last longer or taste better. But they don't make those foods healthier. They make the foods unhealthier. Most of the people who are involved in those projects, they're not aware of that. They think, oh, we're making it better, we're making it nicer, we're giving it more longevity. This is for the good of people. So, anyway, we're in a time of change, and I think these kind of actions are going to come to a halt. And then we will have, a project of rebuilding, recreating a more just planet and society, and healthier nations with better health system and better education and better way of using currencies that are not based on debt, but that are fairer and based on actual value and wealth. So here we are. We're in a time of change.
Sorry about that pause at my end. So would anyone like to share anything or have any questions for Dennis?
I heard that probably with new governments going forward, we'll have more women and there'll be more women leaders, and it'll be a balancing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So I did hear that. Yeah. And, as far as Trump goes, he's like a bull in a china shop. And I heard that the military asked him to run because the military was just going to do a coup on Obama. And then they decided to ask Trump to run, and he didn't. He took 2 weeks before he answered them and decided to run. So, but he almost has to be like a bull in a china shop to bring down all the old political systems that are corrupt. Who else would speak out? Everybody else just goes along with the corruption. Politicians make big time money, being paid off. So he's the only one that seems like would say anything. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think you're right, Judy. And I don't follow the belief of feminism. And the reason for that is I agree with what you're saying, but I totally agree with what you're saying. But the reason I don't agree with feminism is because that is going from one end of the pendulum to the other.
Yeah.
And I feel things need to be in more balance. There needs to be more love, more equality, more togetherness, more joy, more laughter, more upliftment, more Christ energy, more balance and harmony and togetherness and love and joy and frequencies in everything. So yeah, that's one of the because feminism just goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. That's my understanding. So I think we need more equality and more of a middle ground. And yeah, I agree with everything that you're saying. And let's get rid of some of these white male politicians that are so corrupt. And these days, I have started to realize that the word reptilian can be replaced with the word satanic. And I see it being the exact same energy, the exact same thing. I don't see any difference between negative ET energy or reptilian energy, whatever you want to call it. Illuminati, cabal, black hats. It's all the same satanic group or individuals or energy. And I see the church as being very much part of that, even at the kind of the head, especially the Catholic Church and the Vatican, which does have a whole underground system going on there full of let's just call it stuff.
Yeah.
And Dennis, I want to say that I love everything you've said tonight, whether I've agreed with it or not. And I think that's a very good shining example of unity. I know I've said that before, but I'm going to put myself on mute here because I'm sick of hearing myself talk. And let's hear from everyone else in the group. Like, I think I don't know, Dennis, if I'm right in saying this, but I do think I'm quite unique and I think it's partly because I'm an Aquarius as well. And I think within the Aquarius, there's an aspect of unity consciousness. We all have positive aspects with whatever star sign we are, and I believe there are 13, not 12. But there are certain aspects that really shine, and one of them I believe that shines in the Aquarius is this unity consciousness aspect where it doesn't matter if we disagree with each other. For God's sake, let's disagree and let's still love each other. Let's still come together and unite. And I think that really shines out in the Aquarian star sign. So is there anything you'd like to say, Dennis, before we go around the group?
No.
Sometimes you're a man of very few words, mister.
Well, I think we're in a time of change, and I think the change is going to be very great. I think the change is going to be very uncomfortable, but it is a change which is necessary, and I think it is one which is going to free this planet of many of the evils and injustices that are very deep in it. So I think that is where we are going, through that.
I think that's the question I was trying to ask you earlier, because I've seen that it's a process and that we're at the precipice of it. And it's already started, and we do have a long way to go to get back to the days of the level of awareness we were at in Atlantis, and even beyond that, because they've said many times that we're going into we're not going back to Atlantis, we're going beyond, we're going to have a level of a consciousness on Earth that will be beyond Atlantis, and the level of consciousness we had then. So I think what I was trying to ask you earlier is like, do you see what changes do you think will happen in our lifetime? What is to come?
I think there will be, in our lifetime, I think there will be largely peace on planet Earth. I think wars will largely come to an end. That's a big change. I think there will be a transformed level of justice in the sense of economics. So I think there will be basic life standards available in all countries, all nations, all continents. Basic in this lifetime, which isn't there now and hasn't existed in our lives or our grandparents' lives. And that is a situation which is just, it seems, is only getting worse. And I think that is something that is going to reverse. So I expect those kind of changes to happen. So in the next 20, 30 years, I think I have that positive view that we will have begun that process. We will have a fairer and more just and equal world. It'll be more compassionate.
How beautiful.
And that's only a beginning. You see, lots of people can't even imagine that. So, I think we're going to become very much a galactic and spacefaring world, but that doesn't happen till we get our shit in order, and things are tremendously fucked up at the moment. They're not okay, and so us humans have got to put that right.
Can I add one thing?
Please do.
Yeah, I listened to this fella. He's really a nice guy and he helps people. And his name is Chance McFadden. And he has a weekly YouTube that comes on. It's Chance's Chat. And then he does a chat on Sunday evening on Telegram and a chat on Tuesday. But he said when he had his chat on Thursday evening that Texas has 10 med beds that they're going to start rolling out here. And then they have room for another 800 in Texas. So it probably won't be too long before we start to see some of that stuff manifest and some of the other healing things too. So that's good news. So I just wanted to add that for those of us that have health issues and, old age takes its toll on you too. So as we get older, to me, that's really good news. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, I think Dennis would disagree with me here, but I believe that there are med beds that some of the elites have, and also people with that are extremely abundant. And I believe some of those people, I say the elites, meaning negative families, and then of course abundant people as being more positive. So I believe that med beds are in the hands of good and bad, both extremely rich. So I think they've said that before. I think the Pleiadians said that once before. And I'm okay. I'm gonna stop talking there. And is there anything else? Would anyone? So who would like to go next? Sheila, you've been very quiet for a while. I'm hoping you're not asleep. I think Sheila might be asleep.
No, Sheila is not asleep. No, she might be meditating.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna. Michael, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, as I've said, I've agreed with a lot of what Dennis has said.
Yeah.
I don't think that the present state of man's scientific knowledge is sufficient to cause a hurricane. So I just can't see that. I think it's too futuristic. However, of course, we know that there are other non-human influences which might well be way ahead of us, and they might have been responsible for the hurricanes. I will admit that.
I love you, Michael. And
Yeah,
sometimes,
you are, Michael.
yeah, I do. And sometimes I feel like I'm trying to drag you onto Noah's Ark, and you don't want to come.
Well, it already exists. They've got a vault in, I think, Norway, where they've got all the seeds and plants and things to regenerate the Earth if there was a nuclear catastrophe.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that they have been gathering the seeds for, I believe, quite some time.
Yes.
Which I think is wonderful. And I'm hoping that they have more than just that one area, that they have other areas in secret that they're not talking about. And I hope that these areas are in the hands of good people. Because I do question that. But then I've always questioned authority, which I think is a good thing. Oh. Okay. Would anyone else have anything to say or share or any questions for Dennis? Or with regard to what Michael's just said? If not, I'm going to.
Yeah, I think. Can I just say thank you very much to Dennis, because it was my question originally, and I appreciated the answer. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, sure.
I'm
That's a
gonna.
good question.
Sorry, I'm gonna shut up.
No, I was
Yes,
just making the comment. It was a good question, you know, and lots of people are beginning to ask good questions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, isn't it curious that it seems that there is some evidence or data that the origins of a certain nasty virus that swept around the world and the research and patents for it also match up at the same time with the research and patents for a certain magic cure that wasn't so bloody magic. Yeah, lots of people are asking questions, which is good.
Darling, I'm gonna press pause. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So Dennis was just sharing some of the most beautiful words I've ever heard come out of his mouth. So Dennis, would you like to pick it up from there?
All right. So in this time of change, I'm saying something that you need to do, something that we all need to do, and it's more important than ever, is to ground and to center. And to ground can be understood in some simple ways. It is to instead of getting lost in a maelstrom of energy and activity, very practically, it can be to put our thoughts to Mother Gaia or Earth, to put our feet on the ground, to put our hands on a tree. It actually earths us. It changes and balances out our bioelectrical field, and that is something important for our well-being. And then to center, and to center is the action of taking a pause. And this is something that should be done many times in a day. And we pause, stop from some cycles of action, things we're doing, and take some conscientious deep breaths with the awareness that we are calming ourselves. Step aside from our emotional bodies and content. Step aside from our busy, frantic minds dealing with important thoughts and things. And in our breath and in that pause, just to rest in a stillness and connect with the I am that we are, to connect with the divine that is within all of us in our heart temple. And what do we connect with? We're to connect with that nothingness, to connect with that all, to connect with that peace, to connect with that power, to connect with that knowledge, to connect with that love, to connect with that light which is within us. That is so important. And it's more important now than ever, because what is possible now for people to connect to was not possible before. What is possible for people to connect to now, before it took rigorous spiritual practice and very concentrated and long periods of meditation and separation from the franticness of life to develop this connection. And now this connection is there. And it's not because we are special or holy, and well, and I guess we all are, or better than a generation and generations that have existed before. But in this now, the world has changed. The energies have changed very greatly. There's much greater cosmic and divine energies which are flowing in on us. There is a great thinning of the veil. This is a very special time. And so there is a magic, a miracle, a blessing which is possible now, which has not been possible before. And that is that all of us have this opportunity to just take a moment, find some stillness, take some conscientious breaths, and enter into a moment of stillness. And we can connect with a depth and a power and a strength which is divine. And this has not been the case before. Before, people had to live on the mountain. They had to do the 6 months of meditation, doing it for 12 hours a day. And then they go, oh, I have connected to my I am. Now I know of the love of universe. And now this is available to almost everyone immediately.
If you had to describe that in a singular word, in one word, what would you describe that as?
Well, it can be experienced by different people in different ways at different times. So clearly, the word love is a good descriptor of this, but it might be connection, it might be support, it might be trust. So people can enter into this and find what they need. And as we grow as humans, as spiritual beings on this planet, and as we expand our own awareness and consciousness by us loving and forgiving and being of service, as we expand our consciousness in these different ways, then we will get more message and stronger connection to the divinity that is immediately available to us. But the important point is it is available for everyone to get something of what they need immediately. And this is new. And most of the world does not know this. And most spiritual teachers don't know it.
And Dennis, how are you? So I think that's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard you say, given the energy I'm in at the moment. How are you doing? Like, how are things affecting you with given everything you've just said? How are you, like, what's going on for you? Like, how are you coping? Is it a breeze? Are you, what's going on? Will I pause the record? I'll pause.
Okay, so you're asking the question how it affects me. Well, so I too am human. I too am living on planet Earth. I too have bills to pay, and sometimes it's challenging. And I have to commit myself to a day job which I like, but it's very demanding in my time. And I have to juggle that with the rest of my life, and it's not easy. So it's a good thing I enjoy doing what I do in my work as working as a carer. But I'm aware of my own history, and not just in this lifetime. I have the awareness that I have and the connection that I have, and so it makes no difference what's thrown at me. I know I will persist. I know I will continue. I know I will overcome. I know I am connected to all that is. So, here I am. I'm here for the ride. I'm here for this journey. I ain't going anywhere for a while.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know
so I'm playing the same game as everyone else. Here I am. I am living. I am loving. I am learning. And next day, next moment, I'm doing more of it. And I'm growing in that. But very importantly, I have come to understand that we are not in the same as before. We are in a new time, a new energy, and the clock in the cosmos for the awakening of humanity has sometime recently has struck 12, and now we are in a new space, and the divine is much closer to everyone. And this is what I was saying earlier. People don't see the dark, people aren't seeing the light. Both are available for people to see. But personally, what I see as most important is for people to connect to the divine that is within them in their soul presence, their I amness, their true essence and identity, which is immortal, which is element, fractal of source. And this is something that all of us can readily connect to. It's not complicated. Every one of us can go away, come back next week and go, oh, how was it? You know, and we'll have an experience of something which is blessing and which is gift. And there is nothing that can get in the way of that. It is just there for us. And there is no school needed. There is no long meditation practice. And I have meditated long and often, but that is not where we are now. And that is not needed. So there you are. I'm a heretic in all sorts of respects.
I think with what you've just said and what I was saying earlier about this wave of energy coming at me, I feel that a very good description of that would be God. And even more than that, because God is like that. That energy would include everything that
all right,
including the galactics.
Well,
and
if people get enough God, it can kill them.
Say again?
If people get enough God, it can kill them or drive them insane.
Yeah.
So it's important to, that's wonderful. There is so much of that benevolence and knowledge and energy that is available, and it can be overwhelming. So it's important for us to have our spiritual practice, to create the pauses and connect with our center, with our I am presence. Go, here I am, and just have this moment and enter into that stillness, and afterwards give thanks for it. Just keep entering into these moments, and that will enable people to step into their power and sovereignty and knowledge and help transform this world. It will help them keep their balance and help themselves and help others.
And that is exactly what we all need to do. We lost Judy there. I know she had her son in the house. I think now I know it's today. I know tonight's kind of gone on a bit longer than normal, and even though I haven't done a channeling, but I would like to include a meditation for Marianne, a healing meditation for Marianne, and for Sheila's friend's granddaughter. And I would like to ask Dennis to lead it, and lead it with Michael. So a meditation, a prayer. I know Dennis always leads with a prayer, but I would like to take a little bit of a back step for this meditation, healing meditation, and I would like to invite, not insist, but invite Dennis and Michael to lead jointly with that. And then Dennis, if you could open with the prayers, but only if you're happy to do it. I know
That's
that
fine.
I know that I am also going through change and letting stuff go, letting ways, letting beliefs, letting thoughts go, and going through a big personal shift here myself, like everyone else, and ways of being that I have been in the past. Just letting a lot of stuff go anyway, so I'm going to shut up. And would that be okay, Dennis?
Okay, I'm not going to do too much on this. I'm way above my word quota. I'm way above it.
Whatever you want to do, darling, I'm
Yeah, so
absolutely fine.
I am going to share the law of one prayer, and I will say that, and then I think Michael will be able to add some words or action or element to help. Is that okay there, Michael? Yeah?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. And we're asking for the greatest good, health, and well-being. Marie and some other persons in our minds and intention. We give thanks that this is done. It is so. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all here concerned. I give thanks that this is done. It is so. I'm going to say it one more time and a last time. And as I say, this is a prayer that everyone else is invited to invoke and say for themselves in the as the I. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask for the greatest good of all concerned. Ask for their health and well-being, balance and happiness, joy and peace. I give thanks that this is done. It is so.
I call upon the holy angels who are always with me and help me. Yes, they are here. To do whatever is necessary, because they alone will know the cause of the problems that Sheila's friend's granddaughter is experiencing. I suspect that there is a spiritual influence here. Yes, they say, yes. And I ask them, as I have done in the past, to remove this spiritual influence, whatever it is, however it's got in, why, and without regard to why it's got in, I ask the angels to remove this presence, which I sense they are doing, so that she may, this good lady, Gabriella, may recover her sense of well-being and her own personality. And I ask the angels to accomplish this. And they say, we will. This is a case of don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I'm getting. And now I turn to Maria, and I think she's in Sweden. She has problems which I personally cannot comprehend and don't really know much about, but the angels know everything about everybody. And I ask them to concentrate on this good lady, to bring her into a state of equilibrium and balance, and ensure that she is properly grounded so that she can have the ability and whatever is needed to pursue her life's path without being worried about anything. And if there's any physical problem, I pray that the angels may bring their healing power upon it. We have, they said. Well, thank you very much. I thank the angels for their help as they have been helping me this week on another case and in other respects at all times. And I thank the angels for doing this. So be it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you to everyone for being here this evening. I'd like to remind the audience, the people watching in the future, let your light shine. Let your light shine. And I love you all very much. Love wins. I think it might be good for me to take a few days off. I don't know how that is going to be possible. Because I have appointments that I need to tick off the list, and a schedule that is very busy at the moment.
Leave it to the Pleiadians.
Yeah. I kind of struggle with that sometimes because they're here to assist us, but we're in these physical bodies, even though many of us are just only half human. But it's not a time. I don't believe it's a time to be sitting back and doing nothing. I believe it's a time we need to take action, and a time of great.
Will lay out a plan and guide and advise you, and you'll find that all these pieces fall into place. If you haven't got time to do something, it probably means it wasn't necessary for you to do it.
Yeah, that is true. I do believe that as well. Yeah, let it be. Just let things be. Okay, I'll take that advice, Michael. Thank you. I'll let things be, and hopefully I get to have at least a couple of days in a place of beauty. Galway is always my go-to in Ireland, but hopefully I'll get a couple of days at least, even if I have to take my laptop and phone. So guys, if you don't see me for a couple of days, know that I'm probably in a forest somewhere, with my belly on
Anyway,
here.
I will say to that, the place of greatest beauty and that is most readily available is within.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Ain't that the truth? Oh, ain't that the truth? Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. And I invite you to come and subscribe to me on Substack, on either the paid or the free version, whichever you feel most drawn to. Also Rumble, Telegram. I'm going to be coming away from all the other ones gradually. I've said that many times, but it's a gradual process. So please do come and subscribe to my Substack, my Telegram, and my Rumble. And if you have any questions for the Pleiadians, do come and let me know. My email is thepleiadianchild@hotmail.com. If you'd like a reading or a session with me, I do various different readings. I also do a daily channeling or a daily insights. So it may not always be a channeling, but I do my very best. I do my very best to ensure that I do some type of daily message. It may be a piece of music, or it may be a download and a channeling, but it will be something to uplift and inspire and encourage and hopefully bring some type of joy and peace to you and stillness, which we all need at this time. So love wins, guys, and love wins.